Matt, thank you so much for joining me today. How are
Thanks
you?
for having me. Good, doing good.
You've listened to the show before. You already know. What's good, though?
The infamous question. I guess for me, what's good though is dough that feeds the mind, body, and soul. Feeding the mind means, I guess, learning something while doing it. Feeding the body, obviously, if you could do something that's nutritious, and all the better. And then, feeding the soul. I like, whenever I make my dough to share it with people, and that makes my soul feel good.
Mm, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Matt, when we first met online, I noticed that you were doing a wood-fired truck. Is that right?
I am. What a
Or just a
horrible
pizza
idea it's
truck?
been. It is. It is. It's a trailer I built out, and it couldn't be any hotter in there.
Oh gosh. I just got my garage done, insulated, but we don't have any vent, and it gets super hot in there. So we got to work on that. But why is it so hot in your truck?
Just the ventilation. We have a couple box fans. We have this little Nantucket breeze thing. It's called. I put that right in front of my face, but that oven is just cranking at 900, 1,000 degrees, and even with the air conditioner in there, I don't think it'd be able to keep up. So we kind of nicknamed the pizza trailer the Hell Wagon.
Oh gosh, that sounds hot. That sounds too hot. I
Yeah.
think
I think normal
one thing I
operating
never.
temperature is like 110, 120 on hot days sometimes. But just got to drink your waters and stay hydrated.
Right, right. You gotta stay fresh. Maybe shower beforehand so you don't stink extra at the end of a service, and stay
Maybe
cool.
an extra shirt or two.
Yeah, bring that.
But it kind of answers my question why you don't see too many wood fired food trucks out there. And because it's so hot inside.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Where are you located right now?
We're in Jersey, specifically like the Jersey Shore area.
What's the pizza style over there that you're trying to make?
I kind of just try to do my own thing. I don't let others influence what I want to make. I make pizza that I want to eat, that I think I like. That I just want to share that with someone. I may not know what the other person likes, and it's hard to gauge what to make to feed them. So anytime I cook, whether it's pizza or what's not, I cook food that I want to eat, and hopefully you share a similar palate to me, and you could also enjoy what I make. And more times than not, I think that happens. But every now and then, I might do something a little crazy, or a little too spicy, or a little that not the masses won't agree with. But I'm not trying to appease the masses here. I'm just trying to make food I like and hopefully share it with people that have similar palates to me.
The whole thing about not trying to feed the masses is actually a solid piece of advice because at the end of the day, you're making food for yourself. I love cooking food, not wood fired per se, but like high heat, Neapolitanish pizza. And I'm starting to recognize that my wife doesn't like the pizzas that come out of the uni or the rock box. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, that's too bad because I like them. I'm trying to cook them for me. And if you don't like it, you can wait for when I cook them Sicilians.
I like both. I like all styles, to be honest. What works on the truck for me is the Neapolitans. You know, if I were to do, I'm starting to get into Detroit's now, and I'm hoping to do a pop up. I'm trying to work it out with this bakery, kind of collaborate on something there. But I would have to change the complete layout of the truck in order to make that style of pizza. And for me, Neapolitan, it's quick, it's fast. From a business standpoint, the profits are pretty good. So it kind of just works for the setting that I'm in. And I mean, sometimes some days I wake up and I want that Sicilian, or I want that Neapolitan, or I want that Detroit, or I want that New York thin crust. But I hear what you're saying with the pizza varieties.
Yeah. You said you built the truck yourself, right? Tell me more about that.
Before that, just as a to let everyone know, I'm a full time firefighter, and building the pizza truck was a pursuit of passion more than a pursuit of profit. So I really didn't care about having it out there all day, every day, trying to maximize profit, make as much money as I could, feed the masses again. It's more of a a challenge for me to see if I can do it, and then also just pursue something I was really passionate about, which is creating. And at this point in my life, it's creating food. And originally, when I was going to build the truck, I wanted to have it where whatever I felt like cooking that day, I could kind of change the setup of the truck. And I actually made a bunch of T-shirts and came up with a bunch of um, company names for whatever I felt like cooking. So the truck was going to be called like Maddie's, which is my name. And if I felt like doing burgers that day, it'd be Maddie's Patties. If I felt like doing Cuban sandwiches that day, it'd be Maddie's Cubanos. If I felt like making Asian food that day, it'd be Maddie's Asian Delights, and so forth. But after buying the trailer and starting to build it out, I realized that pizza would probably be the easiest and straightforward thing to do because with a wood burning oven, you don't need a hood because it self vents through a chimney. And since you're not creating grease laden vapors, you don't need fire suppression, which again saves you a lot of money. So it kind of just organically happened that from going from all these different ideas, I honed in on Neapolitan pizza. And I couldn't be happier doing it now. And, I really got into it. I spend my days off, dabbling with dough and trying to perfect my recipe. And the people that I feed really seem to like it. I get unsolicited praise. So I guess I'm doing something right.
It always feels good to hear that your pizza is one of the best things that people have ever tried, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It's that's better than any money I can get or a certain number of sales for the day. Having that person come up to me unprovoked and just say, "Man, this pizza was really good." It's like, all right, you get it, and it makes it all worthwhile. All that work, all the hours prepping ingredients, rolling dough, making it from scratch, that extra step I put in to do sourdough, it makes it all worthwhile. So definitely a pat on the back for sure.
All the sweat in that hot oven of yours inside your truck.
Yeah,
It makes it worth it.
yeah, it's crazy, but it is worth it. I love it.
I'm sure that being a firefighter kind of helped you um, know some of the things to avoid when building your oven. Earlier, you mentioned it. There's a trap. You avoid grease traps, and you have a chimney. Can you just elaborate more on both of those because I know nothing about that.
Okay, so per the code, so I built this trailer to a specific code, and that was a nightmare because it reads one way, and apparently different towns you go to, the fire inspector can interpret that code differently. So it's kind of a nightmare, and it definitely takes the wind out of my sails when I'm just trying to make pizza and feed people, and I have to worry about, you know, from one town to the next, and even with the health department and getting permits from townships, it's just a pain in the butt. I felt, but as far as the oven goes, if you're not creating grease laden vapors like frying something or cooking burgers that create, kind of the steam that has the grease in it, you don't need a fire suppression system because there's no risk for those vapors to catch fire. And then since the oven has a built-in chimney, it self vents through that chimney and then through the roof of my trailer. So by having a wood burning oven, I don't need a hood and I don't need the fire suppression system. So right there, that definitely saved me a couple $1,000s in the build.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. I was very hands on with everything in this, and the idea that I couldn't do the fire suppression system myself, it had to be done by a licensed person. I didn't like because I'm very hands on. Everything I did the electric, I did the plumbing. I built the stand. I welded it. I welded the stand that the oven sits on. So anything I can do myself, I would like to do myself, and that tends to want to be everything.
It seems like you are very savvy in just like being being a bit of a handyman when it comes to your truck. Is that something that you've always been, or is that something you learned on the go?
I've always been hands-on. I've always been curious about how things work. I kind of question everything as I go. Um, if I can learn this skill, I'll learn it and I'll do it myself versus having to pay someone to do it. Kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. I have woodworking skills, I have metalworking skills, electric skills, plumbing skills, and I guess the truck is a combination of all those. I guess also I have cooking skills, but I'm definitely very hands on, and it was always at a young age. I remember my brother one year got me a screwdriver for my birthday, and I just took apart everything I could get my hands on just to see what was inside and see how it worked. And that I've always been curious, I guess, in that sense, and that's why I'm always, I guess, geeking out on my dough and trying to tweak it. And I feel like even with the wood burning fire, um, it's kind of like I ask myself 1,000 questions a minute about the actual fire. Did I just throw a log on? Is it burning hot enough? Where did I just put the pizza in? Where's the next pizza going? And it's just like these little tiny considerations or questions you ask yourself about the whole process. And for someone that's looking at me, they have no idea what's going on, but I'm literally thinking about 1,000 different things at once about just placement of a pizza. Is this dough wetter? Is it drier? Is it stretching good? What's the temperature outside? What's the humidity? Is it raining? Is it dry? These are all considerations that go into every little detail of what I do and where I place stuff, and it kind of helps you really hone in on nailing whatever you're trying to do.
It is a lot to be thinking of all these little factors that go into dough. And it's like, I just had pizza yesterday and my cousin was like, "Oh, this pizza is something I would buy." And I was like, "Oh, really? It's something I would never sell because the bottom wasn't crispy enough and it just wasn't right to me." But all of these little things, it's important that we pay attention to so that we can tweak it, adjust it, and try to make a better product for tomorrow. I think that's really cool that pizza people kind of have that same shared mentality.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm always tweaking stuff, and it still blows my mind to this day that people actually pay me for the pizzas I make. I'm over here just doing something I enjoy, and people are working, getting the money, and then giving it to me for something that if they ask nice enough, I'd easily give away for free. You know.
Seriously. So, you're pretty much self-taught handyman. Are you a self-taught pizza maker or did you have any sort of culinary education here and there?
I worked in a pizzeria that was around the corner from my house. I got hired there at a very young age. I was 13 years old, and it was I remember this pretty specifically. I was 13 years old, and it was a Friday during Lent, and pizzerias notoriously are the busiest Fridays during Lent because people don't eat meat and they'll just get a cheese pie and call it a day. So the pizzeria was called Reggio, and it was owned by two Italian people. Couldn't be more off the boat. Maria and Tony. Sounds like made up names, but it just fit them perfectly. I was out riding my bike with my friends, and apparently Maria came to my house and asked my mom if I wanted to work. So when I came home from riding my bike around 5, my mom told me that Maria stopped by and wants to know if I wanted to work. And I used to go there and hang out all the time, and I always expressed an interest in it. So I got all excited. I ran over to the pizzeria and I just got thrown into like the busiest Friday you could imagine, and trying to learn everything and just on like the bit like you learn something on like a Tuesday when it's slow and you're able to take it slower and whatever. But I just got thrown in and I got thrown in the dungeon for that one, and I got my ass handed to me, and I loved it. It was great. I was hooked, and I worked there for about 8 years until I was about 21, and then they sold it to another guy, and I didn't like the way the guy ran that, and we kind of bumped heads a little bit, and he was a yes man to everyone, and the old Marie and Tony, they had a very simple menu, and they did what they did good, and I appreciated that. But the new guy that took it over, I was delivering pizzas at the time, and a customer wanted a shrimp parmesan. We don't have shrimp. We don't have shrimp in house. So the new guy that took it over told me, on your next delivery, stop at ShopRite, pick me up a pound of shrimp, and bring it back. And it blew my mind because this person wants to come pick up their food half an hour or whatever it is. I have to make a delivery, stop a shop right, get shrimp, drop it off. He has to defrost it, bread it, fry it, put cheese on it, melt it, and then give it to the customer. And no lie, it was about an hour and a half before the shrimp parmesan was ready, and this customer was beyond pissed. If you would have just told him we don't have shrimp parmesan, he would have ordered chicken. He would have ordered eggplant. He would have got something else and been happy with it. Like you can't say yes to everyone and do that because I think eventually he lost that guy as a customer, all because he wanted to say yes.
That's a great lesson. You can't please everyone. And sometimes it's better to just keep it simple.
I agree. I couldn't agree more with that. My menu is, four, maybe five pizzas, and that's it. And I think we do those pizzas really well. And actually, it burns me that the pizza, I have like a pizza of the week or pizza of the day, whatever you want to call it. And where I sell my pizzas, we're sandwiched in between a craft beer brewery and a still house that makes their own hard liquors and then cocktails and stuff. So you get some pretty inventive drinks that they have there. And one week, the brewery was releasing a beer that was heavy on the peaches. So it had like a lot of peach notes. So I'm like, I'm going to make a pie that pairs well with that. And I came up with this pie. It had fresh mozzarella on it. It had roasted peaches. We did like an arugula salad and dressed it in like a balsamic glaze. It tasted amazing. It was really good. I think I even put a little goat cheese on there too. It tasted really good. Had, peach notes to complement the beer. And it was the most labor intensive pie I made that week as far as prep goes. And it was the bottom seller. The people that bought it absolutely loved it. But I think it was the bottom seller. And it just pissed me off that I poured my heart and soul into like this I called it the summer peach pie. And then people are over here getting margaritas left and right. It just kind of burned me a little bit. And I did it a couple more weeks, but I slowly realized that just keep it simple. Do a couple basics. I have my version of a couple different pies, but it's those pies that always sell the most, unfortunately. And hopefully, when I build up enough of a following, I'm gonna have a pizza similar to like the Trust Me pie, where they don't know what's on it. They trust my palate and they'll order it and just give me the keys and let me do the driving.
Everyone loves pepperoni and cheese because a long, long time ago, somebody easily convinced them to try it. And then that's kind of what they hold on to. But until someone, gives you the chance to introduce a new food to them, they're going to be a little hesitant. Why do you think that is?
I think it comes down to a lot of people are, for lack of a better word, basic bitches. They just stay in their lane. They don't question anything. And they just do the 9 to 5. They put their blinders on and they just kind of just float through life without ever questioning anything or trying something new. It's just they stick to what's familiar. And I at the firehouse, I cook there, and a lot of guys just they have palates of 3-year-olds, and it's so frustrating. It's like try this dish that I made. Like, no, I don't like it. I'm like, have you ever had this? No. Well, then how do you know if you don't like it? Just give it a try. You don't like it, you spit it out. It's not going to kill you.
What's weird is that I agree with you, but I'm still kind of surprised that only a small percentage of the world are not basic bitches. I mean, like, for the most part, I feel like the world is opening up to newer and newer experiences. You would guess that more people would be willing to try peaches on pizza, though. I mean, it seems like an easy ask.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, and that's why I put it on the menu. And the following weeks, the other pies. But I don't know. Maybe it's the order I list the pizzas because margarita is the first pizza I list, and it's the most popular one. And then at the bottom of the menu, I actually have it written out. We make traditional Neapolitan pizzas. They're 12 inches in size, cooked in a wood-fired oven at 900 degrees until slightly charred. You don't know how many times people ask me how big are the pizzas, what kind of pizza is it. They just, I think they just see margarita pizza and automatic go for it because it's a lot of work to read the 4 menu items and then this short paragraph of our story, you know. So I think maybe some of it comes down to being lazy and they just.
Yeah. Or they're just not as interested in food as we are, because when someone shows me the menu, I need to like study that thing like I'm going to be tested on it, because I want to know What I should try.
Absolutely. I every time I go out, I order the craziest thing I see on the menu, whether I'm in the mood for it or not. I get the craziest thing, something that I would never make at home, or maybe I've never had before, and I'm looking for an experience. I don't want to go out and order chicken parm every time I'm at a restaurant because you're gonna miss all these other wonderful things that are out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. I like that. That adventurous side of you. You
Yeah, I
mentioned
think it goes
you.
hand in hand with just always being curious. That's like a
We
great,
definitely got that in
thing to
common.
have is to always be curious.
For sure. For sure. Shout out to Craig from Gracie's a Pizza. That's one of the things that he lives by.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I actually just listened to that this morning, and that guy is awesome, man. That whole solo. If I could, if I wasn't a full time firefighter, I would definitely try to follow in his footsteps with a solo pizzeria. Just one person, running the show. You make X amount of pizzas a day, and you're done, and that's it. It's his philosophy is just awesome, and I just vibe so well with so much of what he was saying. You know.
yeah, definitely. He has that, like, I can do anything mindset. And also, I don't have to rely on anyone. But also, it's just, I think the way he approaches it is just beautiful. It's unique to him. I really dig that type of, that way of thinking.
Absolutely.
So you're still a full time firefighter.
I am. The schedule is pretty good and it affords me the opportunity to, pursue the whole pizza truck on the side. We work a 24-hour shift and then we have 72 hours off. So it gives me enough time to kind of chase my other dreams and pursue a pizza trailer.
Talk to me more about the schedule. 24 hours of working, that's what, 3 days straight nonstop?
Yeah, so it's
And then,
24 hours straight. So I'll work Monday from 7 a.m. until Tuesday 7 a.m. And then I'll have the next 3 days off. So I'll have off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then I'll be back at the firehouse on Friday at 7 a.m. until Saturday 7 a.m. And then I'll have the next 3 days off. So I'll have Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. And it kind of every week that goes by, it's not the same exact day that you're working. It kind of gets offset by one day. So it's every fourth day I work a 24-hour shift.
hmm. And on your 3 days off, are you always at the location where you all are settled, in between the brewery and the spirit distillery?
That's just on Saturdays mostly. Again, this is more of a pursuit of passion, so we're not out there all day, every day hitting the pavement. Um, Pretty much we locked in at the location we're at now Saturdays. So every Saturday we'll be there. And if I need to take off from the firehouse, it's pretty flexible where I can get someone to work for me or I can put in for a holiday and have off. And definitely makes for a challenging dough schedule, that's for sure, because it's not consistent and it's not constant. And when you use sourdough, it's not really that forgiving. So I'm still trying to hone it in and tweak it. And I feel like every week I learn something new and sourdough kicks my ass and shows me who's boss. And I don't think I'll ever master sourdough. It's just too much to learn and too much to know. But
Yeah,
that's why your show is great because I can learn from a lot of people's mistakes and hopefully not relive their footsteps and make them again.
do you have like an aha moment from any of the sourdough episodes that you're like, oh crap, that's what I've been doing wrong, I need to change it now?
Time and temperature, those things are huge, and it goes back to the oven where you're having that conversation about when I just put the log in. Is it burning hot? Did it catch? Is it dry? Is it not dry? These are all considerations you need to have when you're making your dough. I look, 3, 4 days out in advance at temperatures to see how long I can room temperature ferment for. When does it have to go into bulk? When does it have to go in the fridge? When should it come out of fridge? And that's all dependent on ambient temperature and the amount of time I have. Am I working that day? Am I off this day? Am I able to make it 2 days in advance or 3 days in advance or only one day in advance? Because I prefer a couple day, cold, slow ferment. I get the best flavor out of my dough that way. Yeah, I think I gave myself the hardest path to take by doing sourdough, a wood burning oven, and doing it on the mobile pizza trailer. Like I picked three of the hardest things and I combined them into one endeavor, and it definitely shows me who's boss all the time. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I've thought about switching to using like active dry yeast and make it easier, but you're gonna put out a crappier product, and I'm all about putting out the best thing I can. You know, don't quit before the finish line, and that's like I'll always be chasing that finish line because I'm always trying to make it better and try to get better at it. And my buddy says this thing that kind of sticks in my head. He says, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And I kind of just try to live by that. You know, I'm going to choose the hardest way because it's the best way and you get the best product and, you get in you get out what you put in.
What is your definition of the finish line? Because I love what you said.
Finish, finish line for me is always two steps ahead of where I currently am. Like looking back a year ago at some of the pizzas I was making, I thought they were pretty good a year ago. Looking at them today, I'm like, wow, this pizza looks like shit. This sucks. I can't believe I thought this was good. And I'm sure a year from now, I'll be looking at today's pictures thinking the same thing. It's just ever evolving. That finish line you never catch. It's just, constantly raising the bar and you know, trying to just master that craft that takes forever.
I like how specific you are about being two steps ahead. I think people are just so, as you mentioned earlier, simple minded and not looking too far out into the future.
I definitely agree with that. Like, I just hate the people that are complacent in their product. Um, I live in an area of Jersey where there's literally a pizzeria on every corner. It's like insane how many pizzerias there are. It's like if you go to the ghetto, there's a liquor store on every corner. That's kind of like what it's like with the pizzerias here. Um, a quarter mile from my house, there is, a little bit busier of a street, and there's two pizzas across the street from each other. Apparently, there was like a feud of the brothers. They split, and one of them opened the pizzeria right across the street from the other one. A quarter mile down the road, there's another pizzeria. Quarter mile the other direction, another pizzeria. And they're all serving the same shit pizza with ingredients from your restaurant supply store. They're all using the same flour. They're all using the same sauce. They're all using the same cheese that's cheap. And they're all putting out the same shitty pizza. And none of them are challenging themselves to make a better pie. They all think they're decent. And I'm sure their price points work from a business standpoint, but none of them are chasing perfection. None of them have pizza that I think is like wow, like amazing pizza. There's only one pizza around here that I really like, and they do it right. They put the time in. They use at least part sourdough. They use good flour. They use good cheese, good tomatoes, and you can tell. But all these other people, they're just complacent with their product, and they're not trying to achieve anything better than what they made yesterday. And that's something I try to do every week is make a better product than what I did last week, or get better at something more technical or something like that.
Yeah, I see. I see you trying to elevate your pizza. I saw that you were milling some flour. Is that right?
I am. So there's a local place that has grains, and I got a couple bags shipped over to me, and it's kind of like when you make coffee. For me, I had an aha moment when I made coffee. When I got the beans from Whole Foods that were put in the canister a day before, I ground them right then and there because they have the machine to grind them. And then I went home and I made coffee that night or that morning, whatever it was. And that was like the best, freshest coffee you ever had. I'm like, what if you could do this with grains? So I tried it, and it's amazing. It's a game changer. And it's such a small percentage that you need to put in to elevate that flavor like ridiculously.
What percentage do you use?
So for my Neapolitan pizza, I try to keep it like around 10%. But if I'm making, Detroit's or Sicilians, I'll up it to around 25. And if I'm doing bread, I bake a lot of bread with my discard. I don't like wasting that either. I'll up it to almost 50%. Either like a spelt or a whole wheat of some sort. And I think the flavor is just amazing. And it's good for you, and it tastes good, and you're getting more nutrition, and you're getting everything that bread is supposed to be giving you.
That's so interesting. I love the coffee analogy because I just recently, I think December of last year, started grinding my own coffee. I was even doing manual grinding of my beans up until I got a grinder. and it's a burr grinder. I don't know what the other one is called, but basically you want that. It tastes amazing, right? You get that freshness. The aroma just hits you in the morning, and it's just this whole like procedure for me that I love. And the way you described it for grinding your own wheat, I get the comparison and why it's so important even better.
Yeah, I definitely geek out over that too. So I also had a burr grinder, and I have a manual espresso puller where you're pulling the shot yourself, which is where that saying came from. But I just get these moments where I just go 150% in the direction of trying to do it the best I can. Like, I don't know, I just geek out on stuff sometimes, trying to make stuff the best I can, and just I feel like milling my own grain was that exact thing, you know?
How did you land on the percentage of ground wheat?
Right. So with Neapolitan pizza, for me, it has to be easy for me to open the pie. And when I was putting too much whole wheat, I noticed I wasn't getting as much stretch out of the dough. It would tear a lot easier. And when I'm trying to open up the pies and I'm trying to make them, you know, the 12 inches that I try to do out of this little dough ball, I noticed that the wheat was kind of cutting the gluten and it was messing it up for me. I even tried adding Vita wheat gluten into it to increase it, but that just made it too chewy. So I kind of down the whole wheat percentage where you get the flavor, it's there, but it's not so overpowering and it's not going to mess up your gluten structure. But with like my Detroits and my square pies, I up it a little bit more because you're not really stretching it up. It kind of gets formed in a pan, and you kind of afforded the luxury of upping it to 25%, and you really don't have to worry about the structure of the dough being compromised too much.
Okay, that's a great answer. And tell me about like the process of milling. Did you buy a certain tool for that? Where did you get that?
So the mill I use, I'm probably going to get crucified for this, but I have the Vitamix grains container, and it's a specific setup of blades, and they spin in a certain way that it pushes food away from the blades. So that's what I use to mill. I don't have like the stone and all that grinding stuff. Although I was looking at getting it, but the Vitamix thing was just more cost effective for me since I already had the Vitamix blender. It was like $120 for the container. I got it. It worked great. I run it through a strain like a fine mesh sieve to get out like the particles that are a little bit bigger. And I mean, it works great. I think it puts out a very similar product to what I would get if I bought the whole stone mill setup.
Yeah, I totally relate to that because I used to have a planetary mixer at home, a KitchenAid, and I was like, this isn't really the best thing to use. So I ended up just returning it. And now I just hand mix all my dough. But when I really have a huge batch, I'll use a food processor. And I'm sure people kind of like cringe when they hear that from me. But at the end of the day, it's like, I already have this. I'm trying to save up for a spiral mixer. One day I will get one. But until then, this works for me and my budget and my kitchen counter space. So it is what it is.
Exactly. I have so many kitchen gadgets that I'd get crucified for buying another one, for something so specific. But I think down the timeline, I think that might be a purchase that I can justify. But I have, more kitchen gadgets on shelves than I care to admit. Um, but I'm sure I'll be getting a mill soon enough for sure.
Yeah,
But a
knowing you, you
spiral
will.
mixer, I will say, is a game changer compared to like the KitchenAid planetary mixer or doing it by hand. I have a Sun Mix that I use, and it's awesome. Love it. It
Yeah,
just
I
mixes
know.
that dough better than anything I could ask for.
I know. I rub it in, man.
Hey, I was hand
One
mixing
more.
for a while too. I was hand mixing batches of dough that were pretty decent size, and I would mix 6 7 batches a day. So I definitely got my workout in.
For sure. For sure.
But you got to be able
Someone
to
asked me,
justify it to yourself and others. So got to do what works. That food processor works right now. By all means, go for it.
right, right. And then just one more question about the milling of your grains. Like, can you just like break down the process for me because I've never seen it done before?
I order the whole berries, the wheat berries, um, whatever variety I want. They're in Pennsylvania, which is, I guess, if I drove to pick it up, maybe an hour and a half away. So it usually ships, and I get it the next day. So it's pretty fresh. On their end, at least, it's not like it was sitting on a shelf for months in a food store. And then I get the whole berries. I weigh out the volume that I need, plus maybe 10% more, and then I'll put roughly about a cup's worth of the berry in the blender, and it grinds it up, and it comes out like flour. And then again, like I said, I run it through a mesh strainer just to get out the larger particles that may not have gotten ground up perfectly.
Mm. And then just whatever is left from being strained, you just throw in your dough and then mix, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah, pretty much after after I strain it, I have a finished flour. It's good to go. It looks identical to any whole wheat that you would get from a supermarket, and it works great. The aroma of it too is just it's similar to coffee. When you when you grind your own coffee, that smell is just nuts. Versus when you open up a can of Folgers that was on a shelf for 3 months, that was ground 6 months before that. You go to Costco and see these huge tubs of ground coffee, and I think I'm like, I wonder when this bean was grown, roasted, and ground. And it's like it could be months, if not years ago. And you know, I just think you're putting this product into you. You want the best thing that you can get, even if it takes a little bit more work, even if it's a little more expensive. You know.
Yeah, that matters. That definitely matters. I love that. What is the brand of wheat berries that you use from Pennsylvania?
So the mill is called Castle Valley Mill, and they grow their own wheats, and they sell it ground. But of course, me, I have to do it myself. But I think they also have like corn that they do, so that's pretty cool. I want to maybe pick some of that up and try making some cornbread with their cornmeal.
That is so cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. If you're gonna do something, do it right.
Yeah. So I see like this greatness that you're um, trying to share with the world. Obviously, it's not like your day to day type of pizzeria that you're just that you are. You're really trying to elevate what pizza could be. But it seems to me like the people that you're serving to either not that they don't want it, but they don't know what you're trying to create. Do you ever think about like what you can do to like differentiate yourself or increase your branding or just get the customer to understand better, what Del Terra is all about?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely love to do all those things. It's definitely been a challenge for me. So on the pizza truck right now, I'm the one making the pizzas, and then I'll have someone else working the window. And I love Gracie's setup where he's able to do everything. And I've tossed around the ideas of opening up a brick and mortar, and it's like kind of the next thing on my horizon. I don't know if I'll ever pull the trigger on it or not, but I love the idea. I think it'll be a lot easier to convey that message to my customers because they'll, I feel like they'll be returning customers, and we could build this rapport, and I could tell them about the flour I'm making and what I got from my providers and the farm and the ingredients I'm using and all that stuff. I would love to be able to work the window and talk to the people and have those conversations. But then I also want to make the pizza because I want to make sure it's done the way I want it done. And to teach someone that, it's a little bit hard to do. I would like to touch every aspect. And unfortunately, sometimes we're doing the volume where I'm not able to break apart and talk to the people in the window. I have to keep my head down and just make the pizzas, and it gets busy. But I definitely would love to educate them more and explain more what a sourdough pizza is because some people just think sourdough means it tastes sour. They don't know this whole natural leaven and how if you ferment it correctly, it's healthier for you. It's easier to digest. You can eat the whole pizza and you don't feel full and bloated. And I try to share that with the people I can when it's a little slower. Some people want to hear it, some people don't. The people that want to have a conversation, I have no problem talking to. You know, so there has to be a want there on their side too, which not every customer I have, you know, has.
Yeah, I get that. Do you think that maybe being at the brewery is not the best location for you? Maybe it makes more sense to, like, I don't know, pop up at a farmer's market or something.
So 2 weeks ago, I just started a second location, which is on Thursdays. And there's this town in New Jersey called Asbury Park, and it's up and coming the past few years. There's a lot of hipsters there. It's kind of got this whole like conscious food movement, and it's definitely artist centric and that kind of stuff. And they put it together a market in this other town that's close to my house, and it's kind of been a little lackluster these last few weeks where they just haven't gotten the crowds there. And there's a lot of makers and vendors there, but there's not as much foot traffic as I would like to see. But I figured that people at this brewery are there having these pretty delicious craft beers. Why not have a food item that is on the same level? So it's not like, I'm sitting outside a liquor store and people are going in buying Budweiser and walking out and grabbing a slice of pepperoni. I would like to think that the people that are at this brewery and the still house are making the decision to get that beer that's a little bit more elevated and handcrafted, and there's a little more behind it than just hops and water and everything else that goes into beer. So I thought that the spot is good, and I kind of get a decent vibe out of it, but it could always be better. Some people are just there to do something that weekend. Other people are there because they have a passion for the handcrafted beer, and then when they see the pizza, you know, those are the people that stop and talk to me about my process, and it's nice to be able to share that with those individuals.
Yeah. And I think you could very well be at the right spot. That's a great point to make, that they aren't just buying these Budweisers or, like, Smirnoff vodka out of this distillery. No, they're actually getting something that is elevated, and maybe it just takes more time. And all I want is for you to be able to, cook the food that you want to make, and then people accept that. And maybe it just takes a little bit more time and a little bit more customer education.
Yeah, I definitely think the time thing is something I need to learn because stuff doesn't happen overnight. And just this is our second year, with the truck, and the difference between last year and this year is just blowing my mind. Like I just feel like there's so much more momentum this year. Like I got booked for 4 or 5 events already, where last year was like maybe one. Um, and it just feels like there's so much more hype and momentum, and I'm gaining traction, and my Instagram likes are going up, my followers are going up, and it takes time, and I can't expect it to happen overnight, especially only being out there one day a week. So I feel like it will happen, and maybe the next step in this whole process is finding that brick and mortar that financially makes sense to only be open 3 or 4 days a week that I can manage myself, and you know then I could definitely get the customers to come back and educate them and try to teach them what I'm trying to do. But that's that's in the crystal ball. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great lesson for everyone. It's just, it doesn't happen overnight. Also, just, time and experience compounds itself. You're going to learn one thing, and as you continue to execute it and get better at it, people are going to notice and pay attention to it. And you're just going to be able to put out a better product over time, a better experience over time, and it's going to be even more memorable over time. Some people, they do become an overnight success, but for the most of us, it really is just consistency. It's about putting in the work and showing up every single day, and hopefully, you'll make it to the finish line.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another thing that like kind of makes me smile knowing I'm doing something right is every now and then I'll peek out and I'll see a car drive up to the parking lot where we're located. Person will get out the car, they'll order a pizza, give them their pizza, they'll get in a car and they'll leave. So they're not there for the brewery or the still house. They were there to get my pizza. And it doesn't happen every week or all the time, but it does happen enough where I notice it and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing something right. They're coming here just for me. So it's kind of like a pat on the back and, you know, let me know I'm doing something right, which is nice.
Yeah, and the more you show up at that brewery, the more people you'll get like that. They're going to go to the brewery, try your pizza out, and next time they don't even want to go to the brewery. They just want to get your pizza.
Yeah. I mean, I know the people that are there and that give the pizza a try and that pay attention to what they're eating and hopefully they're not too drunk to remember it. Um, I know that they're impressed with the pizza that came out of this little trailer that has a smokestack that's got smoke coming out of. It takes them by surprise. And I think it just given the opportunity, I think it'll gain more traction. But just because you make a really great product doesn't mean you're going to be an overnight success. Like you said, it takes all that time and work and dedication and consistency.
I want to try something new and maybe something quick fire, a set of quick fire questions. And then I'll get to my two questions, okay? What flour do you use?
Venti. It's Neapolitan 00. I mix that with a little bit of the whole wheat that I have as well. But the flour I use is geared specifically towards Neapolitan pizza and a slightly longer fermentation.
What tomatoes do you use?
It varies depending on what I like. Right now, I'm using a San Marzano tomato put out by a brand called Nina. Before that, it was a Jersey tomato canned in Jersey called Scalfani.
An oven. What kind of oven do you use?
It's the El Fornino. It's a company in New York makes it.
Damn. Very cool. I want to see if I can try to incorporate these quick fire questions for more people. We'll see. You're the first person I tried them out on. What do you think about that?
Good. I mean, I felt a little more under pressure than I should have because I already know all the answers of the questions you're going to ask, but definitely felt like I was on the chopping block for some reason. You didn't ask me what
That's
cheese I
funny.
use, and the cheese I use is pretty good too. I get it from a local manufacturer in Union. Um, it's actually like a town over from where I'm a firefighter. So after every shift, I'll stop there 7 o'clock in the morning, bother the guy, and he'll hook me up with some fresh mozzarella that they make in house.
Thank you. I can't believe I forgot that. That's so important. Cheese.
It's all good.
And why don't we just throw in favorite topping too?
Favorite topping. Right now I'm really into this hot honey that I make. It's gonna give Mike's hot honey a run for his money. I just got to figure out how to bottle it and get it out there. But everyone I give it to loves it. A couple buddies of mine have pizzerias and they love it. The bakery that I am trying to do the pop up at, she loves it and puts it in her charcuterie board boxes. But it's basically honey mixed with. I'm gonna give away my secret here. It's mixed with the Calabrian chili, a little bit of salt and some vinegar, and it's got so much more flavor than Mike's hot honey. Nothing wrong with it, but to me, I just don't think the flavor's there. It's honey and it's heat, and that's it. Mine has a depth of flavor you get from the Calabrian chilies that is just, and for me, it goes perfect with this one pizza I make called the Bee Sting. So it pairs perfectly with like a spicy soppressata. And I think, I mean, that hot honey's good. It's scrambled eggs, ice cream, whatever you want to put it on. Go crazy.
Love that. Yeah, I totally agree. Mike's Hot Honey is just, I'm done buying it unless I want to serve basic pizza. No offense. Like, it's good. People go wild for it, but after having it on like 100 pizzas, I'm over it. Like, I buy this hot honey from this person in Seattle called Urban Farmer. Like, it's actually hot.
I'm gonna send you out some. I got to get you trying some of mine because I actually really stand behind this hot honey that I made, and I could have went the easy route of buying Mike's hot honey and putting that on, but like you said, it's great for a basic pizza. Every mom and pop pizzeria out there that buys the flour and everything from your restaurant supply store that serves you a pepperoni pizza, go ahead and put the Mike's hot honey on it. When you want to elevate your pizza game, which is what we're trying to do here, get something with a little more flavor.
Love it. I have one more question for you. Maybe I'm gonna include this in the quick fire ones. But describe your pizza in one sentence.
Oh boy, this one I need to think about. Um, I think it's crunchy, it's soft, it's delicious, it's got a little bit of chew, and it's kind of the whole package all wrapped up in one. It kind of hits on every note. It's a little bit sweet, a little bit salty, a little bit, fatty, and if you get it with the hot honey, a little bit spicy.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. Thank you for entertaining me. I want to change it up a little bit, not too much, but I think these are going to be fun questions to ask.
Absolutely. Hopefully, people are quick on their feet and able to answer.
Yeah, we'll see. And no worries if you're not. Um, all right. Well, I have two questions that I always want to ask at the end, and that is, what's one mistake that people can avoid in the pizza business?
I guess knowing what it takes to sell pizza is a mistake that a lot of people I think would make. It's not just about putting out a good product and making pizza. It's all the other business stuff that we touched upon a little bit before. It's the getting the permits, it's passing the health inspection, it's passing your fire inspection. It's all the stuff that takes the wind out of your sails that aren't pizza making that allows you to make pizza. So just be ready for all the headaches and nonsense that come along with it. And if you're really into making pizza and you're really passionate about it, you'll find a way to get through. And it'll just be a little hurdle that you jump over, like every other hurdle that you've jumped over to get where you've gotten.
So true. I started looking at getting a catering license in Santa Clara County, and that thing is like $400 just to turn in the application, and it's not guaranteed. So, yeah, like figure out how many pizzas you got to sell after that, and don't get discouraged when you're on the hook for all of these little fees everywhere. But hopefully, if you really love what you're doing and you can think two steps ahead, you'll know that it's worth it.
Absolutely. Like that spot that I'm at is actually pretty expensive to pull the permits. It cost me about $800 every 3 months for those three permits. So they only give me one day a week there because the township only allows them to have three food trucks at their location. So they'll have one Friday, one Saturday, and one Sunday, and they like to mix it up. So you're not going to be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you need to be able to do enough business on one day for those 12 weeks where paying $800 for these permits makes sense. Plus, you got to pay your employees, you got to pay the overhead of if you owe anything on your setup, and you got to be able to purchase the ingredients you need. So it's definitely a lot behind it, and being out there and selling 10 pizzas not really gonna not gonna cut it, and unfortunately that's kind of when the business aspects come in, but if there's a will, there's a way. You'll figure it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what do you want to leave the audience with today?
Just get your dough right. Put a lot of work in. Make dough every day. Make mistakes. Have dough that blows up. Have dough that doesn't blow up. Just keep practicing. There's so much to learn. You're never gonna master it. Just every day makes you one day better than the day before. So if there's one thing I think that can make pizza amazing, it's your dough. You buy a can of tomatoes, whether you open it up or whatever, you're not really doing much to those tomatoes. Same thing with the cheese, unless you're making it yourself. But the dough is the thing that you can probably control the most, that has the biggest impact of how that pizza is going to come out. So put your work in.
Yo, I am I am super craving pizza now after our conversation. Like, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Nah, no problem. I hope people learn a little something, and just keep paying it forward. I've listened to a lot of your podcast. I've learned from a lot of people out there. I even reached out to a couple of them through Instagram, and they've been kind enough to respond and answer questions. And the podcast I give them a shout out, like, hey, awesome podcast, you did a good job. If anyone out there wants to reach out to me, my Instagram, throw the handle in there, ask me questions. You want to talk about business or my dough, I have no problem. I love geeking out on this stuff. I wish I had more people to talk to because my
Yeah,
fiance, she's kind of sick of this stuff. So anyone that wants to
yeah.
reach
Don't
out and
worry.
talk, door's always open.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I'm going to make sure to add all your links in the show notes. But yeah, man, I hope you had a good time here.
Absolutely. Glad to share it with you.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you. I learned a lot from you. And let's just say I definitely dig your mindset, man. Very cool.
Excellent, excellent.
I,
Glad you appreciate it.
I didn't ask you. How long have you been a firefighter for?
I'm in my 7th year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Congratulations.
great
That's
job. It's kind of an extension of my childhood. A lot of the guys I grew up with became firefighters, and it took me a little longer to join the forces, but I finally got there, and I was like, wow, I should have done this earlier. But the group of guys I work with make that job amazing. Shout out to them and just making work not work.
good. It's always helpful to have a good team around you.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, man. I know you got a busy day. I'm going to go eat some lunch. Thank you for your time
Hopefully
today.
pizza.
It will be.
Excellent. I might join you with that.
There you go. Have a good day, brother. We'll talk soon.
All right, brother. Be good.
Peace. You too.
Bye.